All right, so as you can see in game here a little bit, this is the numbers that you're seeing here. Yes, they're millions. Yes, they're 3.4, 3.7, 4 million, etc. This is the most recent test of the damage I was getting with the bomb drone. All right, what is going on, everybody? We are going to do another video here. I wanted to record this because the one that I did yesterday was a bit longer because I was tired and so on and so forth. Anyway, we are going to run down the BTSU gloves in a bit more detail than I did in the original video, simply because I've done more testing with it, and I've seen a couple videos pop up with talking about the gloves that really don't get into detail. They don't really talk about how they work. They just kind of say, "Yep, these work. These do things." So we're gonna go through them. I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. I'm gonna show you some skills and so on and so forth. Run down a couple quick little things with it, just with some of the damage skills that I've tested with it, etc. I've tested a lot of them. I'm not going to put all of them in this video because it was too long before, basically. And so the mortar turret we have, and something to take note of, is using explosive damage in the shooting range is a bit buggy because it depends on the range to the target and when it detonates, and the targets can be a little buggy at times with that. So some of the numbers should be off. They technically should be a bit higher if they actually hit the target correctly. So keep that in mind. But we got the mortar turret up to about 1.9 mil on a single target hit. We got the flame turret hitting for 1.3 mil on an initial hit, which was weird. And then 90k ticks from the fire. We got the burster up to 2.4 million. We got the explosive up to 2.5 million. We got the sniper turret up to 1.4 million. And we got the stinger up to about 1.1 million. So that's just obviously damage skills and so forth. But we're going to run down the gloves now and talk about what they actually do, because half the information here is correct and half of it's not. Like I said, a lot of people don't really get into this, so we're going to get into it now. So the first skill, or the first talent on the BTSU gloves, is skills that apply status effects gain 100% status effect duration and 30% skill haste. This is actually accurate. This is what they're giving you currently, or, well, on the PTS at least. I don't know if they're doing that on live. Technically, the notes say 50 status effect and 50% skill haste. You can actually see them on your sheet as well. Not all of the skills seem correctly affected, but most of them do. Like this one, for example, blind duration 16 seconds. You've got your cooldown at 13.8. Now, if I take the gloves off and put on something random, go back to the same thing, you'll see that it's 8 seconds and 29.3 cooldown. So definitely keep it in mind. It definitely is really, really useful. With the gloves as well, you can literally make the Firefly last longer than 10 seconds. You could quite possibly keep somebody permanently blinded because you can get the effect to last for 16 seconds or even longer, and it's pretty excessive, to be honest. So something to keep in mind. Like I said, a lot of the stuff I haven't actually been able to test in the DZ or in a raid environment, simply because these characters, according to the dev, these characters were just put here to have us test the skills and look at the skills and so forth, and they weren't really meant for testing PvP or the raid. I don't know the logic behind that, but that was the case. And it was too much of a hard time really trying to find somebody to sit with me in the DZ to really test that stuff. I know the drone was still technically bugged as of the other day. The drone was supposed to be being changed around significantly. However, in the DZ, when we were testing it with me and Inigo, it was letting through 80% of the damage and only blocking about 20% of the damage to you. And apparently it was supposed to be, originally it was supposed to be the reverse of that. But apparently there's some other big significant changes to that for PvE and stuff versus PvP as well. That's something completely separate. Anyway, back to the gloves. The energy infusion talent on the gloves isn't actually listed here. It is listed in the patch notes as whenever you apply a status effect, your gloves become infused with that for 60 seconds. Okay, that's something important to remember. While infused, you gain 10% skill damage, 10% skill healing and repair, and 10% skill duration for each utility or yellow battery on your gear. Now, the yellow mod slots on your gear do not seem to actually boost that at all. The skill damage and the skill duration and such seem to all be 5% per battery. I'm not sure if they're planning on buffing that or if they're planning on keeping it at 5% or what that is. The skill healing and repair does seem to boost your healing and such. I'm not exactly sure how much because, like I said, it's in a more controlled environment like the DZ or something. It'd be easier to test it, but it's kind of hard to really go around with NPCs and everything else testing that. So I'll test more of that on the actual live servers once it hits. I would just say probably 5% on each one as well there. Now, the third skill here, with that energy infusion perk as well, you can get any kind of gas tanks or things on the wall that, you know, shock you or things that confuse you. Any of those things that you find laying around the map, you can actually activate by shooting them next to yourself and capture those effects. And you can use that, obviously, with the next perk and so forth to, you know, on the enemies and so on. A thing worth noting that's not listed here, I'm not sure if it's bugged or what the case is, but it is supposed to just give you that damage and so forth. However, it only seems to give you that extra damage and such when they're under that status effect. So something to keep note of if you want, you know, them to take the extra damage and such, is they don't really get that big boost unless they're under the status effect. Anyway, charge proxies. Whenever you throw a skill, this says 25 seconds after landing, it creates an explosion, applying this infused status effect to all enemies within 1 meters. This is completely incorrect. This is supposed to be 1.25 seconds after landing. It does that. And it does it in a radius of 6 meters. That seems fairly accurate. What the notes say, this is not accurate here. Enemies affected by the infused status effect take 3% more damage from your skills. That's also incorrect. They seem to be taking 50, which is in the notes as well. So the gloves, like I said, are extremely powerful when it comes to skills. Definitely going to want to use them if you want to use a skill build because of how crazy they can really push your skills to. And like I said, this is just with the gear that we have on the PTS. Nothing too fancy. This is literally the gear that they gave us. The only things that I have added to this build are a tech support on the backpack to add a little bit more damage. And that's really about it. We're going to have Spike activated here. We have some other stuff that doesn't really affect it. We have all explosion-based stuff because the biggest hitters that I could find were the explosion skills. But we're going to get into that now. Alright. So, we're going to test the drone first. And I need a turret just to kind of help me get the tech support effect here. Oh, Bombardier. Okay. Alright, so we're going to throw out the turret. Have that ready. Actually, you know what? Before we get into that, let's show you how the skill or the status effect capturing works with the gloves. A big thing worth noting, I'm not sure if it's going to make it to live servers or not with the gloves, is if you're using a Reviver Hive or an instant deployable skill that you drop or things like that, if you have a status effect captured and you drop a skill on you, it will do an AoE, which I'll show you in a second, around it, and it will hit you. So if you drop a turret or something on yourself with an instant deploy, it'll probably kill you. If you have a Reviver Hive and you go down and you have a status effect that you captured while you went down, it will drop a Reviver Hive and kill you. So I'm sure they're working on that stuff now, but just something worth noting. But yeah, let's show you how they kind of work here. But on Riot, really easy to show with that. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to Riot Foam an enemy. It's going to capture the ability. I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like usually. Usually when it's captured, your gloves will also turn red. And when that happens, when you take a skill that's deployable like this and you throw it out, in an area around it, it will detonate with that effect. It will also, as you can see here, do... I'm not sure what this is based off of, etc., but this is anywhere between 440 to 500k in an area around it, hitting all the targets as well. And while they're under the status effect as well, they will be taking more damage from your skills. So something worth noting, like I said. This does stay for about 60 seconds, like I said. You know, that's on the skill itself or talent itself. Now, the fire effect seems to be a little bit buggy at times. Doesn't seem to capture it every single time. So you're gonna have to be careful with that. Now the bleed one has its own little icon here, and it seems to override the other captures, which is a little weird. So what we're gonna do is we'll just throw one out. And this is the actual capture status effect right here. So now when we take a turret or something that you can deploy and we throw it out, it makes them all bleed. And it also does, you know, the AoE around it, like I said. Now, if you're looking to be able to see these damage numbers in your chat and so forth, you can do that on live servers now. You just have to click combat info here and put on damage numbers here. It's a little bit hard for me to test on the target over there with explosive damage and so forth because it's floating in the air and I can't really control that, you know, the distance and so forth with it, so it's a bit harder. Just easier to test on these simply because it's more accurate. And like I said, this does work with practically any of the status effects that I've come across. Blind, the stunning, electricity one, whatever it's called, fire, riot foam, EMP, Banshee confuse effect, or just confuse effect in general. And that's pretty much all of them. We're gonna activate spike here. As you can see, a couple hits there. Some of them were kind of buggy because of the distance they went off with each other, etc. It's 3.7 million, 3.2 million, 3.2 million. I'll have a little clip somewhere in here or beginning of the video somewhere that actually shows it hitting like all the targets accurately for 3.7 or so million. I believe I got a 4 million on one of them before, but like I said, it's kind of buggy with distance and detonations and so forth. Like pretty much all the skills have been buffed. They've been like cut down in cooldowns and so forth. If you want the skills to have like the skill haste and so forth change, 100% skill haste is about 50% cooldown reduction. There is a diminishing returns on it, so if the more you stack, the less you're going to get from it. Something to keep in mind. However, they've lowered the cooldown so significantly that you can get back down to 10 seconds fairly easily on a lot of these. And the mods are significantly boosted. Even healing was boosted to some degree. The shield and such is way stronger than it was before. Has a lot more health. It regenerates way faster. The deflector shield actually can be boosted on how much damage is reflected back with some of the mods as well. So something. And I'm assuming that these gloves would technically boost that damage that's being reflected back as well. But like I said, it's something I haven't been able to test yet. And as you can see there, those detonations were hitting anywhere between 1.8 million, 1.3 million, 1.8 million. As those clusters are kind of strange too, because when you throw them out, they kind of detonate in a big area because of the effect as well. So they all detonate in different numbers, but anywhere between 1.4 to 2 million, I think I got with those, at least. Something like that. Alright, so let's switch to... Let's do Burster. It's a little bit hard to get out there in time. Alright, let's scroll down. I forgot to do that. Yep, there you go. 2.7 millions, 2.4 millions. Bunch of ticks from the bleeding effect and such in there too, but gives you an idea what the Burster can do there. I'll also show the Stinger Hive if we can fit it in here. This one can be a bit crazy as well. You'll actually see the initial hits will be big, and then it won't be able to do it anymore because it doesn't apply the status effect because they just die so quickly, so... Oh yeah, that one wasn't fully boosted there. I think I've seen 500k plus on this before, but yeah, you can see 400ks. Yeah, pretty close to 500s there. I was a little late in throwing it out there. There's another big hit right there. But yeah, you can see how that hit there. Uh-oh. Make him bleed quick. There you go. 1.8 millions in there. And of course the mortar also does apply the apply the bleed. I can't remember. No, that was something else. I don't remember. Either way, it annihilates them. Whether they have it on them or not, it's pretty significant. That's without being debuffed as well. They're hitting for 1.4 or so. But yeah, 1.8 million hits and so forth there. .4 there. 1.4 there. That one didn't have the bleed effect on it, so it didn't get applied. Alright, get rid of the turret again. Not even sure why I threw that out, because the turret does fire, so... Yeah, there's a 93k ticks. It's a little hard to test this in here sometimes. It should boost back up once they're burning. Yep, 81k. And of course, the turret lasts quite a while. There goes 73, 88. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Drop a like on the video if you can, or a comment. Hit the subscribe button if you can, if you will. And maybe stop by the stream, say hi. Have a good one, guys.
I'm a scat man.